edited by Glenn Lawrence Presents. It is 100% copyrighted and owned by Glenn Lawrence Presents Media Publications. For further information, reach out to Glenn Lawrence at Glenn Lawrence Presents on YouTube, Instagram, and all other social platforms for inquiries on work.
All right, how about now? I'm back. Sorry, did that work? The issue. Can you hear me now? Mic check 1 2 1 2. Sorry, everybody. Let me know if you can hear me now. Let's see, Travis. Can you hear me now? All right. You guys there? Yep, cool. Thank you, Travis. I didn't even know the microphone, something happened with the streaming app or the platform app that kind of messed it up. So you guys saw the thumbnail, right? It seems that there is evidence that now proves that Andrew Tate was lied about, framed, and the authorities had this information. And now that it leaked, the question is this going to change the way that we view false allegations? Are we going to now start actually really scrutinizing bullshit accusations? That's the question. Is the narrative of believing all women gonna finally be put down? Are we gonna put that to rest? Because everybody knows that that's the biggest crock of shit ever. Because you can never believe all women. You can't believe all men. You shouldn't believe all of anybody. Okay, I don't believe you even if I know you my entire life, because you know what? There has been a time in my life that you have proven that you will lie. There's times in our lives that we, as humans, all have proven that we will deceive, mislead people in our best interest. It's true. There's not a fucking person on this earth. I'm sorry, probably cursed a little too early, but I'm not even monetized, so it doesn't matter. There's not a person on this earth that has not lied to in hopes that by lying it would look better or improve their situation or get their outcome that they desire. So we all know everybody lies. Okay, even Honest Abe was a liar, because the whole joke was the fact that you call him Honest Abe. That was the whole joke, because he really wasn't that honest. He was a liar. So I'm going to share a video with you guys that I saw from Sterling Cooper today, right? And that kind of exposed this whole bullshit to me about the evidence proving that these girls, these women that accused him, cooperated, planned this whole thing out, and this entire thing's based off of a lie. So tell me what you guys think.
So there's been a massive update in the Tate case where transcripts of WhatsApp conversations between two of the alleged victims have been leaked. And what's really interesting is that when you go through these conversations, you see that the US woman and the UK Moldovan woman were conspiring together to frame Andrew and Tristan Tate. I encourage you to go through the conversations yourself and read them. Don't just take my word for it. You can see for yourself. It's funny that everyone's accusing the Tates of using the Loverboy method when, in fact, these women were pretending to be in love with the Tate brothers. And they brag about this fact. They brag about it in these conversations. They're bragging about how amazing actresses they are to one another and that they should be winning awards. They talk about wanting to contact Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime to get some kind of documentary made about them so they can get rich off the fact that they framed Andrew and Tristan. You've got conversations between one of these women and her own mother, where she clearly states that she can leave whenever she wants. So that blows the whole human trafficking allegations right out of the water. Not only did these women lie to Andrew and Tristan, they also lied to Dicott, and Dicott believed them. It's a clear case of collusion and attempt to extort the Tate brothers. Now, investigative journalist Suleiman Ahmed has verified the legitimacy of these documents, and there are some people who are trying to claim that they're fake because there's a bunch of messages in a row that have the same timestamp. This was an error due to the date format that was used and the way it was imported into Excel. And this has been verified by Suleiman Ahmed himself. The really interesting fact about all this information is that the Romanian police have had these transcripts since at least July of 2022, after the first raid on the Tate compound. So that begs the question then, why on earth did they detain Andrew and Tristan when they had all this information that proves them innocent in the first place? They decided to detain them anyway without charge and just keep them in jail for as long as they possibly can. I don't care if you're an Andrew Tate fan or not. This should be an international outrage. This is clearly a setup. These boys have been framed by two of the alleged victims. There's clear collusion there. Two of the other victims in the prosecution's case came out on Romanian TV defending the Tate brothers, saying that they're not victims in the first place. So where are the actual victims in this entire case? They don't exist, but still the Romanian authorities have decided to detain Andrew and Tristan Tate for as long as they possibly can without charging them. Also, the prosecution have decided to not use any of the extensive CCTV footage that would prove the Tate brothers' innocence. So the only question that remains then is, why are they still detained? They're detained and they haven't been charged. I cannot understand why the Romanian prosecution still thinks these men need to be detained, despite the fact that all of the evidence is pointing towards the fact that they are innocent.
Innocent. Wow. All the evidence
for affection,
is pointing that they are innocent. What do you guys say to that? Are they innocent? What do you guys think? Is this going to ever change? Will this be enough to change this whole believe all women narrative? Will this be enough to change the way we investigate? And will this be enough to, I don't know, change the laws to where we start accusing or punishing those that commit false accusations severely? Will this be enough? What are your guys' thoughts? And if you guys would like to share your thoughts, I dropped the link in the chat. It's up. You guys are more than welcome to come on up, share your thoughts. You don't have to show your camera if you don't want to. I'm not going to force you guys to do that if you don't want to show your face. Travis, you think it's all a setup, huh? You want to come up and share your thoughts? Again, you don't have to show your face. You could appear just by voice alone. I would love to hear everyone's opinion on this. I think I think that there's a scam going on. I think it was, all bullshit. But now after hearing everything and getting all the evidence that we have seen now, I think that it's obviously this was a planned out thing. And I think that people need to get punished for it. Hold on, putting out a tweet for this topic right now. Trying to get some more viewers up in here. All right. So you can't do it. Oh, you're at work right now. All right. Jim, you don't think nothing will change? Why is that? Why will nothing change? Jim, I dropped the link in the chat. If you want to come on up and share your opinion on why nothing will change. I would love to hear your thoughts. You know, I would end up liking to see if there's any women that decide to come up here and actually tell me that we should still continue to believe all women. I would love to hear an argument for that. An actual logical one, that is, because I don't think that there is any legitimate reason why they should be running with this blanket narrative that you need to believe all women. To me, that is the most bullshit thing I've ever heard. Honestly, bullshit thing. You know, like this, like the narrative, right? Like, you know what they say, right? That about the statistics and stuff. Watch, I'm gonna Google this and see if I could find this out. Let's see. What's that? All right, so here we go. Let's see, what is this? Because, you know, they have this, like, I've seen many reports or narratives stating that well, there's like a picture, there's this graph of like that came out not too long ago, a couple years ago, that said like false allegations is such a small number, right? Like there's not enough the people that get accused, majority of them are guilty. There's not the percentage is so small about false allegations, like only 8% of guys or people that are accused are victims of false allegations. And that number actually is not entirely correct. What if I told you that these bitches have sold you a crock of shit and that you have been believing it? But why would they, you know, put out such a low number? Well, what's the point of putting out such a small number of as a result? Why would that be the reason? What do they gain from doing that? You know, well, what they do gain from putting out a fake report, inaccurate figures, is that they gain the fact that, oh, well, if it's not a significant enough number, if the number is not what most people would consider, you know, high enough to worry about, then people will not do anything to make it change. They'll just be like, it's not enough people suffering from this for me to really invest in any time or to really get upset about it or try to change anything. You know, people will be like, it's not worth it yet. So they tell us that there's, you know, just a small fraction of people that are actually accused of this that are actually really innocent, but it's not even that big of a deal. Or they try to say that it's not even close to the number of people that are actually victimized or are victims of these alleged events. But what if I told you that is a lie? Would you agree, or would you want to debate on this? Because I could prove it. I could definitely prove my facts. I could prove my statistics. Trust me, I could provide evidence that proves what I'm saying. But I don't know if the evidence that been supporting this narrative of people being falsely accused is actually as low as that they claim it is. What do you guys think? So what I'm about to do is I'm going to share a video on a project that I am currently working on behind the scenes. This is like a proof of concept. So if you guys know what a proof of concept is, this is like it's like a video on what my documentary video will be about. And I'm going to share that with you here. And I would love for you guys to share your thoughts on this. You ready? Here we go.
Work your way up to the front of the march, and there she is.
Rise up for the women of the world, for the women of the world. I expect the men in this country and the men in this committee, and many of them, believe me, because we all signed on to this letter to demand an FBI investigation. But really, guess who's perpetuating all of these kinds of actions? It's the men in this country. And I just want to say to the men in this country, just shut up and step up. Do the right thing.
Shared tens of thousands of times on Facebook and has been tweeted every 10 seconds for days now. The main intention of the Enliven Project, the advocacy group that created the graphic, was to debunk the notion that false accusations of rape are common. A look at the lower right-hand corner shows that only a small percentage of rape accusations are false.
What if I told you that the 8% of false accusations that they report is actually more than you think? What if I told you that 8% equals 20 million people have been falsely accused? What if I told you that 62% of those accusations were made by women? Would you still believe them all now?
Led to believe his 16-year-old sister had been sexually assaulted by 5. The sister.
A promising college football player's life dreams shattered as he was falsely accused of rape. His accuser, 19-year-old Nikki Iovino, told police that she went to a party where 2 football players forced her to have sex in a bathroom. She later admitted that she had sex willingly and was afraid that if she admitted that, another student wouldn't want to date her.
Mr. Monzel, in your lie detector test, you were asked, did you have any sexual contact with any of your 3 daughters? You said no. The lie detector said there was no deception.
Yes, they got it.
Miss Yvonne took a lie detector test and said, did you make up or exaggerate any stories with the intention to harm Monzel? She responded no, and the answer was deceptive. So, Miss Yvonne, is there anything that you wanted to say to Mr. Monzel?
Why didn't you fight for him harder if you knew you
Excuse
didn't
me.
do it?
And what is it that he could have said that would have made you not believe the lie you were telling? Miss Yvonne?
So what do we say to that? What do you guys think? What are your thoughts? Do you think that the statistics that are currently being reported are accurate or close to being accurate? Do you think that that there should be any changes in the laws when it comes to dealing with false accusations? Or do you think that the laws, that there's not enough significant reasoning to change the laws? What are your thoughts and opinions? I would love to hear what everyone thinks. Tell me what you guys think. And if you want to, again, the link is dropped into the chat. If you want to share what you guys, your opinions, or if you want to share your thoughts, please let me know. I will drop another link in the chat. Coco, you say you just got in, so you can't give an opinion. Okay. You're always opinionative. You should have no problem sharing your mind. But really, what is wrong with wanting to have laws in place? What's wrong with having checks and balances in place in our judicial system that, one, promotes that people who are truly innocent of accusations that are being made against them do not serve time in prison for crimes they did not commit? What's wrong with that? Is anything wrong with that? And what is wrong with actually having laws in place punishing people who are willing to make false accusations that we all know ruin people's lives? Why should there not be laws in place that punish those people who are willing to do that to other individuals? What's wrong with having those kind of laws? I don't see a problem with having laws in place that, one, severely punish people who actually commit crimes like rape. I mean, trust me, in my opinion, if you are 100% found guilty without a shadow of a doubt or beyond a reasonable doubt, then the punishment should be quick and swift. Pull out the dick, cut it off, right? While he's bleeding, let him bleed out for a little bit, suffer, and then firing squad takes care of the rest. All right? That lowers the amount of people that are incarcerated. That lowers the taxpayers' responsibility on housing and taking care of all the inmates. And it rids the population of one less sick fucker that wants to abuse people. I think that's fine. So there should probably be like an equal punishment for individuals who are willing to make false accusations and risk the lives of innocent people. I think there should be some form of punishment that it somehow equates to the severity of the charges being made against them. Do you guys think that's a good idea? You guys agree with that? Or what's your thoughts on that? Should women face, because let's face it, the majority, according to the statistics, the majority of false accusations are made by women at the rate of 62%. So 62% of all false allegations are made from women. Now, that would make them the majority of those that commit these crimes. So should they face a severe enough punishment that would deter other women or other people from making false allegations? I mean, isn't that the whole point of a punishment, right? It's to be severe enough to, one, make you never want to recommit that, crime, and two, be an example for others to see and be like, shit, I don't ever want to face those kind of punishments. So why isn't there a law or something in place that punishes those that make false accusations severe enough to where people don't want to risk being charged for them? Why do you think that is? Why do you think there's not enough punishment in place? I can tell you why I think. One, I think they have made it so hard to actually convict an individual for false allegations that the majority of false allegations cannot even be heard in court, according to the standard that the law has now for those. In order to be accused of false allegations, you have to show malicious intent. And I don't think that there is enough room to show malicious intent without, a confession or someone testifying that this individual said they're going to plan to do, this thing and accuse this individual of doing something that they didn't do. I don't think there's enough ways to truly prove false allegations as it is now. But what do you guys think? Do you guys think that the current percentage of 8% is about right? Do you think there's only about 8% of people that are really falsely accused? Do you guys think that the majority of people that are accused of false allegations really guilty? I wonder. I have found this website that really inspired me to kind of dive into this and really start digging into finding the research and the evidence that proves that a lot of people are being falsely accused, and that the false allegation statistics that I just started looking into after reading this to see really how true are the statistics. And I'm going to share it with you guys now. Where is that at? Let's see. Okay, well, here's a funny report. Okay, so check this out. Here's an article. I'm going to pull this up and I'm going to share it here in a minute. Let's see. Let's get it right. There we go. All right, so here is like an article that says, like, you know, the current you know, it states that like only 2 to 8% of rape accusations are false. At least this article is kind of telling the truth. Stats is extremely misleading. So an independent review on this is during like in 2015, there was all this like claims that the rape culture on campus type of thing was something that was a big issue. And I mean, rape in any category, no matter where it is and how many times it happens, is always should be an issue right out the gate. I'll just be honest. That's what I think. So I don't think nobody should be not accused or shouldn't be taken seriously. I think all accusations should be taken seriously, but I think when investigating them should be done properly. But it says social science analyzed crime records report that the rate of false rape allegations is 2 to 8%. And when it's like, when you hear that it's only 2 to 8%, you're like, well, that's significantly low. And the reason they phrase it this way, and they tell you that it's only 2 to 8%. Well, what does that percentage actually really equate to, right? Well, when you hear 2 and 8%, you're like, well, that means that must mean 98 or from 92 to 98% of those accused must be guilty then. So that means, you know, wow. If that's the way it is, that means the 92 to 98% of the people accused are guilty and should be in prison. And man, that means 98 to 98% of these guys out there that are committing these crimes, they deserve, you know, death in prison. Let's see. This one says that the linked academic study actually concludes that false rape allegations occur at a rate of 2 to 10%. But leave aside the typo, readers could easily interpret the above paragraph to mean that when a woman files a complaint about sexual assault, then an assault did in fact occur over 90% of the time. That's what they want you to believe. Exactly. But that interpretation is wrong. See? A false rape allegation is provably false, meaning, for example, the accused has a bulletproof alibi or the accuser eventually recants. In many cases examined by the author of the study, there was simply not enough evidence to bring charges. A rape might have occurred, but it might have not. Such cases are not classified as false. So you see, like, there could actually be a rape that took place, or there could actually have been some sexual conduct interaction that two individuals engaged in consensually, but somehow get reported as non-consent. So specifically in their analysis, sexual assault cases at a large university, the authors found 5.9% of the cases were provably false. That means out of all the cases that they had, that means they knew for a fact that 5.9% were absolutely false. There was no evidence to support that this thing actually took place. Like, they were just complete lies. Cool. However, 44.9% cases did not proceed, meaning there was insufficient evidence, or that the accuser was uncooperative, or the incident did not meet the legal standards of assault. Oh, wow. So that means 44.9, almost half of the cases and accusations end up not even going to trial because they did not meet the legal threshold of substantial evidence to actually try and charge somebody for rape. Interesting. Additionally, 13.9% of cases could not be categorized due to lack of information. That leaves only 35.3% of cases that led to formal charges or discipline against the accused. So there is obvious, that just shows you that it's not this ridiculous number of people actually committing rape, and that, you know, no, that's not accurate at all. It clearly states that 35.3% of cases are the cases that had enough evidence to question whether or not this took place, and that it's now going to trial because the police didn't have enough evidence to say, you know, without a doubt, there was a rape. They just have enough evidence to further investigate, to say, you know what, this should go in front of a trial because somebody needs to sort this evidence out, because it looks like there might be something here. So good. So 35.3% of those cases are actually the ones that go, you know, lead to formal charges. But you know what that doesn't account for? And here's the other thing. It's funny. That doesn't account for the guys that when they are interrogated, when they are in the police station and they're dealing with the police, and the investigator are like, look, man, I'll offer you a deal. We know you had sex with her. You already said you did. It's not looking good for you. So look, you plead guilty, and the prosecutor is going to offer you a deal. You're going to serve some time, but hey, it's better than serving 50 years. You'll at least be able to get out and have a life. And you know what, guys, in facing that case, in that pressure, a lot of them are just like, you know what? Fuck it. Why not? And they'll sign the deal. They'll serve time for a crime they didn't commit because they don't believe that a jury will actually believe them. Well, why would anybody think that a jury would not believe them? Why would anybody think that people would automatically assume that they'd have to be guilty? Could it be because there's been this narrative that has been pushed around, thrown out there, that all men are rapists? That if you have a penis, you're a rapist. And whether you have actually committed rape or not is irrelevant. You are a future rapist then. You know, there was a school in Australia, I think a year or two ago, that had all the boys stand up and apologize to all the girls, students and faculty, all the women in the room. These boys had to apologize for them either experiencing or being victims of sexual assault by men. The school made these boys apologize for something they had nothing to do with, that did not partake in. They weren't even born, some of these kids. Why are we doing that to our kids? Why are we doing that to our boys? What is the point of doing that? The point is to condition people into believing this narrative that if a woman says you did this, then you did it. What they're trying to do is get rid of due process. What they're trying to do is make it an automatic conviction, charge, consequence for anybody that is accused of it, and hope that it avoids going to trial. Why would they do that? What is the point of doing that? Because they don't want to have to face being accountable for it or being, investigated. Well, why wouldn't they want to do that? Because if they were, maybe that would expose them for lying. I don't know. What do you guys think? What do you guys think about that? So I'm gonna share with you some information here. I am not sure how well you guys could read it, so let me cut my camera off real quick. Let this go to full screen. Let's see. Did it go to full screen? Hopefully it did. Let's see here. All right, cool. It did. All right. Here we go. Is it 9? Let's see. Here we go. All right. So, false accusations of rape and the suppression of Dr. McDowell's research. Here are some quotes from women when they were actually questioned, and they some of them remained anonymous. I lied about being raped. It was done purely as a form of revenge. Anonymous. I'm actually not all concerned about innocent men losing their jobs over false sexual assault harassment allegations. Emily Linden. Yeah, these are people. False accusations destroy lives. Where they burn books, so too will they in the end burn human beings. Very interesting. So in this chapter here of this book, right? And this is all facts. It has a lot of statistics. Like if you guys are interested, let me know. I'll share it with you. There was a guy named McDowell. He was a special agent, Charles P. McDowell. He had a PhD. He did a study conducting over 25 years, right? He did a 25-year study conducted by the Air Force, which found women admitted or were found to be making false accusations in 40 to 50% of all complaints that were filed. Travis, you want to hop on? Coco, you can hop on too if you want to. So, and in this chapter, not only do we find out that this guy did this, this special agent for the Air Force did this investigation, right? And found that 40 to 50% of all accusations that were being made were false. But when he tried to reveal this and then also show his metric and the way that he came about discovering this evidence, a congresswoman named Pat Schroeder, Democrat out of Colorado, forced the Air Force to stop the study and conceal the findings. Well, why wouldn't they want the study to be exposed? Why would they want to shut that down? Why would they want the truth of the amount of innocent people falsely being charged of this crime be hidden? What benefits do they gain from that? Oh, I see you, Danny. Let's see. You know something. Before we actually knew it as Red Pill, I knew it deep down that the narrative was all bullshit. Yep. My mother, going all the way back to the 70s and 80s, was a femme-biased, believe all women, females. I constantly heard my whole childhood now how bad men are. Now, as a Red Pill adult, I am angry at her for doing that, but she's dead now, so I can't even confront her about it. Well, you know, you might get to when you see her in heaven. I don't know. Who knows? Well, the Bible says you'll be surprised at who you see in heaven, and you'll be surprised who you don't. So, continuing. So when it tells you, like in chapter 6, you know, it kind of exposes the feminists' game plan, and this is an example. So the special agent Charles P. McDowell, he does empirical research into false accusations of rape, and that whole research was destroyed by a feminist congresswoman and 2 feminist attorneys. Okay. it took like months of like slewing over and piecing together exactly what happened, drawing on records obtained through the Freedom of Information Act, searches of the news database, a substantial volume of correspondence, and from many telephone calls with Dr. McDowell and key witnesses, the story can now be told. And we'll see it here. Dr. McDowell, special agent, and later a supervisory criminal investigator for the Air Force of the Office of Special Investigations. One of his projects was a careful study of every rape reported to the Air Force OSI worldwide and encompassing all U.S. Air Force bases for the 25-year period from 1965 to 1990. Okay. There were several hundred cases, and they were sorted into three categories. The accusations were proven. That was one category, and that was approximately 25%. Okay. The second category was the accusation was neither proven true nor untrue, which was 30 to 40%. The third category was evidence proven or proved, or the accuser admitted lying. So evidence proved that the accuser was lying, or that the evidence proved that that there was lying and it was all false to begin with. So either evidence supported that she was lying, or the chick admitted to lying, or whatever the case is. Okay. So using a test ratios, Dr. McDowell compared the true and false groups on a dozen different variables, finding significant differences for 57 of them. And these were turned into what he called the rape allegation checklist, or RAC. All right. And which was a tool to help special agents and police officers investigate accusations of rape. Now, you would think that this tool would actually be really benefit to use. Like, people could actually, this might actually really help law enforcement be able to sift, weed through, and, arrest and really prosecute those real bad guys, the guys that really did it, compared to, potentially having innocent people in prison, right? So McDowell's field test, he field tested the accuracy of his, RAC, or the rape accusation checklist, on hundreds of additional cases at 3 police departments, and also in conjunction with the FBI's Forensic Science Unit. The instrument was repeatedly validated as accurately predicting false accusations of rape. So not only did he just do his own little study, but he used 3 different police stations, and also using the FBI. He was able to show that his method was very accurate. It was predictably accurate. And so, okay, before I tell you about the seizure of Dr. McDowell's data, first let me help you get a sense on how the rape accusation checklist worked. So that he has 2 examples. Okay, there's one example that is a 16-point or a 16-score checklist, and the other one was a 26 or more point checklist. All right, and so the first score of 16, which suggests that the accusation might be false. Okay, The second has a score of 26, which is conclusive for a false accusation of rape. So you can see here, they give a whole bunch of like examples of what was the 16 points, right? So, and then this one gives you the 26 points. All right. Now, so he comes up with this, rape accusation checklist, and he is at a police only training where he's actually demonstrating and showing law enforcement personnel, how to actually implement this rape allegation checklist. Right. And in attendance was attorney Susan Lombardi Kinney. And after the presentation, she went straight to the media and she described the rape accusation checklist as outrageous, and saying that it's ridiculous. Another person who has attended the same seminar, one with actual experience in investigating rape accusation, Officer Linda Hassan, out of Anchorage, Alaska, said to the media that when asked, almost all of McDowell's points were right on target. I feel that there are good numbers of false accusations. So a female officer, even at the same conference, says, no, this dude is, correct. I think his method is, very accurate. We should implement it. Well, after this, attorney Lori Otto Constantino reports conducting a study that allegedly proved McDowell's checklist was unreliable. Otto Constantino used sex assault cases where the assailant confessed. She ranked the victim in the cases using the rape accusation checklist scale, reporting in each case that the victim flunked. So she said that, well, based off of her own test on this, RAC checklist, what she did is that she used only cases where the alleged rapist admits to the rape. So there's no investigation. And then she takes the rape accusation checklists and then use the checklist on the victim, right? And according to the checklist, the victim, failed. She was, according to the checklist, if you went off the checklist results would say that this individual is making a false accusation. So because she did this, and that was her findings in her report, she pushed to have Dr. McDowell's research and study and practice, the rape accusation checklist implementation shut down. Her study has some very significant problems, though. So it does not appear to have ever been published. This could mean that the study was never actually carried out. So she reported that this study that she did took place, but there was no evidence that the study took place, that there was no accounts, there was no way to verify that this study was even accurately conducted. There was no way to verify it. She just said it, and then we all had to agree with it or believe it. So that's a problem. And on top of that, Like there's no peer journal review. This did never even hit, a peer journal review. Her peers in her field never even were able to review her findings or challenge it, which is ridiculous. You would think that something significant like this would be peer reviewed, like Dr. McDowell demonstrated his. He let other professionals in his field practice or see the results themselves, conduct the test themselves, and even they found out that this guy's work is accurate. That's how it's supposed to be done. But this lady just makes the statement that, hey, I did this. It didn't work. We got to get rid of it. Just because she said it. The number of comparisons is not known. So we don't know if there was 330 or 300. In the context of Otto Constantino's comments, it sounds like the sample size was very small. This would make the results unreliable. So if she didn't use the same amount of a sample size, so if, for example, if Dr. McDowell used, I don't know, let's say 100,000 cases, right? Well, if she is not using 100,000 people, the same sample size as Dr. McDowell, and she only used like one case, well, the results from that one case would not be accurate. It'll be unreliable because there's nothing to compare. The variables are not there. All right. So, there's what safeguards did Dr. Otto Constantino employ to control the feminist feminist narrative, or like what safeguards did she have in place to just go after the facts of the results? How did she safeguard the results from being tampered or tainted by any personal belief or personal worldview or narrative or agenda? She can't prove that she had any safeguards because she can't prove that she actually conducted a test. So, there's still no copy of this person's research still reported. And that was back in 92. And she still has not produced anything. All right. So because of Otto Constantino's report, right, a congresswoman named Pat Schroeder out of, she's a Democrat out of Colorado. All right. She got all pissed off and butthurt, and she was outraged, and she summoned 5 Air Force generals to her office. She ordered them to silence McDowell and end the use of his checklist. Something the generals did, like they readily agreed to do. Special Agent McDowell was locked out of his office, as well as the secure building that he worked in. Furthermore, is that his research files, notes, mathematical calculations, charts, graphs, computer desk, and reports were all carted away. And to this day, it's still unknown to what happened to them. So why did, this congresswoman compel the Air Force generals to end Dr. McDowell's empirical study? I'll tell you why. Because it exposed the truth about the feminist narrative, the feminist agenda. They don't want you to do research or believe things off of empirical data. They want you to make emotional conclusions. They want you to be emotionally charged. That way you're not responding from a rational and logical point of view. So that's interesting. So here's an example of like the checklist, right? And I will turn off my camera again so you guys can get a better view of it. Hold on, let's do this here. All right. So, and this is like an example that, you know, Dr. McDowell created. And this is how the officers they would investigate. This is like what they would run through. And Thor, if you want to come up, let me know. I'll drop the link in the chat. So they would, you know, initial complaint. All right. Was the complaint, you know, timely? Complaint timely? Was the initial complaint made by the victim or a friend? Were law enforcement authorities notified by someone other than the victim? I mean, these are all like questions that they would, you know, score based off of the information that they get. All right. And then they would ask, you know, specific questions about the, you know, then they'll get into the physical and medical evidence. They have to answer questions about the victim's attitude based on the, you know, the investigation. And they would go off of, like, they also ask questions about the assailant's communication. Does the victim report receiving obscene phone calls or prior to the, you know, the assault? Does the victim report receiving any kind of written communication with the assailant before or after or during the assault? Personality and lifestyle issues. Does the victim report engaging in high risky behavior? Any history of alcohol abuse, financial, you know, problems, mental health issues? You know, like any, like they're supposed to ask these, you know, questions, and according to this checklist is how they would determine whether or not that there is a probability of false accusations being made. And so the scaling score is here. It tells you right here. The sum of investigations findings for the 57 questions, all right? So 0 to 15, it's equivocal. Further investigation is required. So with a score from 0 to 15, you'd be like, you know what? We should give this case over to the prosecutor and let him determine whether or not he wants to further investigate or to press charges. All right. Scores 16 to 35. The allegations probably false, but still may be true. Meaning, hand it over to the prosecutor, let the prosecutor, you know, bring up charges. Cool. A score 35 to 75 points, the allegation is false, absent clear and convincing evidence. So there's no clear and convincing evidence to support the allegations. A score of 76 and up, completely overkill, no known examples of actual rape victims in that range. Crazy, isn't that? But they shut that down. They shut down the use of that type of checklist involved when it comes to these cases. Crazy. So like, think about like the rape culture that they said was on campus. Like all the people that were, you guys remember, like, I think it was Was it Yale or Duke, the lacrosse team? You know, all those guys that were accused of it were found innocent. Oh, but their lives were ruined. So why is this not being addressed? Why is the narrative of false accusations? It was Duke, Travis, crazy. So why has the narrative of false accusations? UVA? I didn't know. Was that University of Virginia? I don't know why the narrative of these false allegations have been able to continue to push, or the narrative that false allegations are not common continue. What is the point of, continuing pushing this narrative, and why isn't nobody correcting it? Why hasn't there been a push to correct that narrative at all? I'm dropping the link in the chat for anybody that wants to come up, share their thoughts, their opinions. If you agree or disagree with me, I would love to hear your opinion. Let me know what you say. You do not have to cam up. You could just appear by audio alone. But do you think that we should address this believe all women narrative? And should there be like a public address to push for reforms in our legal system, our judicial system, on how we investigate and prosecute these types of cases? Because it's not just, oh, UVA was the Rolling Stone grape store. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. You're right. Yep. No, thank you. But why should we have, some form of reform in our justice system when it comes to how we investigate? What do you guys think about that? I believe that there should be some reform. I don't know how they're going to get people to vote for that, honestly. And here's the thing. Here's the main reason why I don't think they're going to be able to get anybody to vote for it. And that's because the majority of the people, like, guys don't vote anymore. Guys are not out there voting when it's time for elections and stuff like that. Nowhere near as often and as many as women do. Women come out in droves. They do. Women are the major voting, group. Seriously. I mean, false accusations, and just so you guys know, I'm not just talking about cases that have to do with sexual assault. Do you know the majority of false accusation cases, or the majority of false accusations, are actually made in family court? And again, it's still 62% of these allegations are made from women. That means, like, the mom doesn't want the dad to have, equal custody or custody of the child. So she lies and tells the judge that the dad is abusive, a drunk, an alcoholic, a drug addict. He is violent. He has assaulted her. She fears for her safety or her child's safety. They say shit like that. That way the judge would, believe the stories and in hopes reject the father from being able to have the amount of visitation with his child that he desires. That's where the majority of false accusations are made. You know what? I agree. Pitney, that accusers should face the same amount of time in prison that the person that they accused would have to spend if they were found guilty. And also, because, if you are accused of and are found guilty of a sex crime, right, then you have to register on the sexual offenders database. And I think they should create a database for false accusation makers, and it should be called like the liar database. And that therefore, like any time this individual makes a report, right, their name gets ran through the system, and then it gets popped up like, oh, this person is a registered liar. I don't know if we should investigate. Yes, you did say that, Coco. Let me find this. I have a website. I want to find you guys. Let's see here. Where is it at? False allegation, prosecutorial. No. False allegation, prosecutorial reform. There it is, Reform Project. Okay. So let me share with you guys this website here. I want you guys to check out. It's called I think it's the Innocent Project. Yeah. And no, is it the Innocent Project? I don't think it is the Innocent Project. It is. Oh, where is it? I'm trying to find this. Prosecutorial reform. Hold on. Let me track this down. It is, I think it's like Board of Prosecutorial Reform. It's the reason why I want to like showcase this to you guys, because it is very, very insightful. Like what they expose on here, it's like wow, this makes sense, because it breaks down like they actually changed the way that we investigate cases. And it was, again, another push from a very motivated group of women. And I think they had originally, I think they had, I think they had legitimate reasons to do so. I think they were originally doing it from a good place. Like, we want victims to be able to be heard, and we want the people that actually commit these crimes to be held accountable. So I think there was a legitimate concern on how to approach this, but just like everything that had good intentions eventually gets perverted and gets abused. And one of them happened to be like our legal system. Well, I mean, I would say our legal system has always been perverted, right? Oh, is it this? Ah, here we go. It's called the Center of Prosecutorial Integrity. I'm gonna share it with you guys right now. Here's the website. Here's the stream. Here we go. No, wrong one. There we go. No, wrong one. There we go. Travis said to help prevent false cases, apply the law as it applies to perjury. Making false statements under oath, and actually make and hold law enforcement accountable so they hold the person who falsely accused somebody. I support that. As for family court, get rid of no fault divorce. Yep. And when children are involved, the parents are not bad people, drug felons, DV cases, assaults, etc. Enforce 50-50 custody with no child support. You know, there definitely needs to be reform. I agree with some of that. Absolutely. So let me show you guys this real quick. And let me get rid of my camera. All right. Hold on. Can you guys see the screen? Is the screen viewable? Can you guys see the web page? All right, cool. So there's this model that they are using when they are investigating these crimes. Okay, and it's called the victim-centered approach. So the victim-centered refers to treating the complainant in the manner that is focused on the experience of the reported victim. So a victim-centered involves the use of investigative and adjudicative procedures that will, one, presume the guilt of the defendant and refers to the complainant as a victim. Two, avoid asking probing or detailed questions in order to not re-traumatize the victim. Three, it cherry picks the evidence in order to increase the likelihood of finding guilty. Four, the reflexive attribute inconsistencies in the complainant's statement. You know, they just dismiss it to as, well, it's just a life-threatening trauma. Don't worry about it. That doesn't have to be accurate. She's experienced a life-threatening event, so that's why she's inaccurate. And they also, five, they teach investigators to write the report in a way to portray that the sexual contact that was alleged was non-consensual. A victim-centered approach is an umbrella term that includes such approaches as Start by Believing. That's an organization. It's like one of the whole Believe All Women groups. And the Forensic Experimental Trauma Review or Interview, and Trauma Informed. These are all very left-leaning, very pro-feminist groups that help create this whole victim-centered law enforcement approach, right? How it got involved or how it got implemented, I have no fucking idea. So the core of the victim-centered justice is a belief that a person who experiences traumatic events, such as sexual assaults, are unable to provide an accurate or coherent account of the incident. So any inconsistencies in a complainant's account should be attributed to trauma. But research has reached the opposite conclusion, that victims of trauma usually have an accurate recollection of the event. Richard McNally, extreme stress enhances memory for the central aspect of an overwhelming emotional experience. Sujita Bhatt and Susan Brandon, there is some evidence that fear memories are richer in sensory details. Daniel Reisberg, these data suggest that traumatic events are likely to be well remembered. Proponents of the victim-centered justice also have claimed, assume all sexual assault cases are valid unless established otherwise by investigative findings. That was done by the Human Rights Watch. Investigators should hand control of the process back to the victim and even allow the complainant to request certain investigative steps not to be conducted. That was made by the Department of Justice Community Oriented Police Servicing and Police Executive Research Forum. Wow. So clearly this whole like victim-centered approach method is designed to create and only produce evidence to support a narrative that they want. That's not how law enforcement is supposed to be done. I can't believe that this type of bullshit is something that is out there, that our law enforcement officials are actually have been trained and taught to implement when it comes to investigating cases like sexual assault, domestic violence. Yeah, it's crazy. It's wild. Let's see what you guys said in the chat. Well, Travis, we already know you ain't got kids, but you know what? They could take your dog, and we know how much you love your dogs. It's always, I mean, the accused is supposed to be, you're supposed to be innocent, assumed innocent until proven guilty. And in every other case that you could probably say that's, you know, the way that people try to look at things, or at least that's what's pushed more, except for any case where, one, the woman is the victim of the crime, and two, it has to do with sexual in nature. Everything else, they'll think that the person should be innocent until proven guilty. Man, they're going to take your dogs from you, Travis. They'll take them. They'll be like, all you need is the one crazy chick, ex-girlfriend, to be like, you know what? I seen him abuse our dog by putting peanut butter all over his genitals and made the dog lick them. I don't know. I'm just saying. And I know you have a crazy ex, and I know how crazy she is because I know her sister, and I suffered through that you have a crazy enough ex that would do that to you. Thank God she's far away from you, but she would if she could. So what are you guys' thoughts? Why isn't there a more, vocal push to really address or change the way these cases are being investigated? What are you guys' thoughts? Because I'll tell you right now, I say we don't believe nobody. I don't care if you have a penis or a vagina. I don't believe you for shit unless what you're saying happens to be backed up and supported with evidence. Not manufactured evidence, but actual evidence. Do you think that should be the way that we police and investigate? Here's the other thing, though, and here's something a little bit more interesting. We all know how vocal Andrew Tate was, right? And how triggering he was before he was incarcerated, right? Before he got locked up. And we all know that the women could not stand him. And we all know that, well, I'm not saying all women, but we all know that at least the woke, feminist, modern women could not stand Andrew Tate at all, especially when he said things that were exposing women of their nature or their actions, right? Do you think that now that the evidence of his leaked, correspondence between the two accused girl or the two girls that accused them of this, the evidence that shows that they corroborated their stories and that they were working together to get Andrew Tate arrested, and they created this false accusation? Do you think that when Andrew Tate eventually gets released now, because here's the thing, there are other things that these investigators are investigating and looking into besides the sex trafficking thing. Okay, there is some other criminal activities that he has, either said on TV that he did, or on YouTube or on a stream, whatever, that he did, by whether it's tax evasion or whether it's not reporting money, or I don't know, some financial crimes. Let's just say there's been enough statements made that suggest that he committed at least some financial, crimes or fraud, right? So he could still go to jail for that. But put that aside. Let's say he's released and that they drop all the charges. The investigation stops. All right. Do you guys really think that he's just gonna be quiet about this false accusation bullshit? Or do you think that he's gonna make enough noise that there actually might be some changes made? Because I personally don't think that he could influence lawmakers, but I do think that his supporters or guys that end up finding out or listening to this and see the real numbers, because I showed you guys, according to Dr. McDowell's research, that on average 40 to 50% of false allegations, or all allegations that involve domestic violence or sexual assault, were considered false. And only about 35.3% of all allegations actually led to charges being brought up and, an individual going to court. So do you think now that with, this all coming out in Andrew Tate's case, do you think there's actually going to be enough steam, or, this is actually going to cause the conversation to actually get to the point where people are wanting the laws to change and start protesting, because I don't see guys protesting over this. Really, I don't. And I think that's a problem. I think the fact that guys do not tend to gather and protest for, you know, things or issues like this is part of the problem. Because if you notice, if you want to take if you want to take some pointers from the feminists and these women marches, think about the shit that they do. Like, look, there was significant abuse happening to women that was going unpunished. All the women gathered together. They put pink vagina hats on their head. They start a marching and a chanting. And then guess what? People are listening to them and things are being done. So maybe, guys, maybe we should take, a page from their notebook, their playbook, and be like, okay, well, we don't got to wear pink vagina hats and we don't got to put dildo dicks on our hats. So we don't do that. But maybe we could gather and protest about the injustice in our legal system in this area. Do you think that guys would actually do that? I mean, I think it would be smart enough, if they decide to. I think it'll be a good way to make this issue, be heard enough to where people are just start talking about it. But the fact is that this issue is not talked about enough, and that the numbers reported are not accurate. And even so, let's just say hypothetically, let's say that this was accurate, 8%. Let's just say 8% was actually the number. All right. And what does that equate to? What does 8% actually equal out to, right? Let's find out here. Where is that? I think it was done by YouGov. Let me see. I have all these like tabs and notes and stuff. Let's see here. Is it this one? Maybe. Let me see. Where did that window go? Hold on. Here we are. All right. Windows. Let's see. There we go. All right. So this is a group called the National Coalition for Men. They started in 1977. According to some studies show that 50% or more allegations examined are false. Wow. According to an expert quoted by the CBC News story, Barrett sexual assault never happened. A 4-year period from 2003 to 2007, 31% of sexual assault claims that Ottawa police investigated were dismissed as unfound. That is, they never happened, opposed to unsubstantiated, where there isn't enough evidence to follow the case. The claim that only 2% rape accusations are false is totally unfounded and purportedly based on the FBI data, though we have yet to see this confirmed. And the crime data is never a reliable source to project upon the population as a whole, as compared to empirical research. So There's evidence out there, but why aren't people getting behind it? Why isn't there enough evidence or people making noise for it? I find it interesting. This is really interesting right here. It says, and I said this in the beginning, just because like they say that it's 8%, right? Please allow me to clarify something about the common mistake that the FBI says that the rate of false accusations of rape is only 8%. If you read the actual report that they have linked here, the report does not say that. What the report says is boilerplate language, and it says law enforcement determines that 8% of accusations of rape are false. That does not mean the other 92% of rape accusations are true. This individual was a prosecutor 3 times in 35 and in a 35-year career as a trial lawyer. What the 8% figure in the FBI report means is that the police determined that 8% of accusations of rape are false, that they do not need to refer those cases to the prosecutor. See, the prosecutor determined that at least the other 60% of cases were false, and they dismissed them at request. The prosecutor, and in many of those 60% of false accusations, the prosecutor never even filed charges. We know that the rate of false accusations of rape from several solid scientific studies is at least 65% and maybe much higher. Can we stop with this whole, narrative that women don't lie bullshit? Can we stop with this whole narrative that guys must be rapists just because women say they are? Can we finally put that to rest? Can we be done with that? What are your guys' thoughts? If you have an opinion on the topic and you want to chime in, let me know. I think I've already dropped the link in the chat. You're more than welcome to come up, share your thoughts, share your opinions. I will wait a few minutes, and if not, I'm going to cut the stream, call it a night, and talk to my girl after I eat some food. So, see, I got a couple comments here. Oh, Danny, I didn't even read your comment. I'm sorry, man. Danny says, my crazy ex is at least so far out of my life that I'm finally safe from her pulling her crazy shit. Well, that's good. That's good. Thankfully for me, I'm states away from my crazy ex. So, I could sleep a little bit more peaceful knowing that we're states away. Let's see. Anything else? Any final thoughts? Any more final comments? I will end, finally, I'll just say this at the end of the day is this, that we need to do a better job at policing. We need to do a better job at holding people accountable for the shit that they do. If we got people out here lying and making claims against people and wasting tax dollars and investigating and prosecuting these people, those people that lie need to be held responsible. I mean, those people that lie that need to be held accountable. I think not only they need to go to jail, I think that they should have to pay the person that they accused a restitution, because people's careers are destroyed their livelihood are destroyed and their families are destroyed over these accusations. And although there's no monetary figure you could give somebody that will make all their problems go away, having all that money will at least pay for a good counselor and some, an island somewhere so they don't have to deal with these dumbass people any longer. I don't know. I just think that they should be paid something for the suffering that they had to endure from somebody's bullshit lie. But with that being said, I'm going to call it a night. Hope you all enjoyed this stream. Again, I will be, this is going to be a mini documentary that I am working on. Phil Foster is also working on it. We are collaborated on this project. And, I did pitch it to Rollo, so I'm hoping that he wants to hop on it to some capacity, whether it's, from a production side, or if he would be interviewed out either one, or maybe get him to do the interviews of these guys. That would be great as well too. But we'll see. He's a very busy guy. He's running all kinds of things. He has his plate is full. So we'll see whether or not he could do it or not, but that would be great if we could. So yeah, look forward to that. If you guys want to be a part of this documentary, let me know. Reach out to me, hit me up in email or DM me on Instagram, and I will connect with you. And we will get these stories out there. I think it's important to get these stories out there. I think people need to hear these stories and see that there's a lot more that's not being reported, and we need to correct the narrative. So until next time, you guys, peace.